Manchester City booked their place to Wembley with a brilliant 2-1 win away at Bournemouth to send them to the semi-final. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about the star man of the game being Nico O'Reilly, who came on and provided 2 important assists to show why he should be playing more in this team. So let's get into it. Now, going into this game, I think a lot of Manchester City fans were very negative and thought the result that happened against Bournemouth in the league could potentially happen again, and I still think a lot of people overall didn't expect Man City to win. Now, in the first half, Man City did not play bad at all. Haaland obviously missed the penalty and a few chances didn't go their way, but they were 1-0 down and had to change it up in the second half, which Nico O'Reilly brung, coming on for Kushanov and being moved into left back, which is what really changed the game. Now, Nico O'Reilly is actually an attacking midfielder or central midfielder. A little bit like Zinchenko, Pep Guardiola definitely likes him playing in that left back role, and to be honest, it is exactly what we have seen by many midfielders coming through, like Miles Lewis-Skelly also being pushed out to left back. Now, this isn't the first time he has played as a defender for City. In all their FA Cup games so far, he has played left back or centre back, so this is definitely something they have been trying in the FA Cup while not really giving him many minutes in the league, as he only has 21 this season. Now, straight away, I know he's very young, and a lot of people have said that he wasn't necessarily this good about 4 to 5 months ago, so his relative game time is probably fair, and I'm not going to criticise Pep Guardiola for not playing this guy, but I do think in this game it showed quite a lot of levels of what Man City have been missing, that transitional and physical power, being able to run energetically up and down the pitch. In that left-hand side, he was so good to be that second or late runner constantly, where Man City would group players in together, be tight, where Bournemouth would come into them, and then as soon as they were able to get the ball into the central areas, De Bruyne was able to pick passes out to O'Reilly, who was consistently making them overlapping runs. Not only did this help in attacking ways, because obviously it gave Man City that extra man, in defence it also helped when they were getting pressed quite intently. They could put the ball out to him in space, and he would have that area to even run with the ball going into them forward areas, or keep the ball and wait for other players to move around him. So it really worked well, then being able to play out of the press as well with his great positioning. Now, as an attacking midfielder or central midfielder, you would probably expect him to actually invert inside. Now, this is something he didn't do, and he actually was very much on that touchline. If you look at his average positions of the game, you can even see how much further he was in front of Vardy and a little bit wider. This constantly kept stretching Bournemouth out, and when they were trying to be tight in these areas, they could always give the ball to him in space. This, as well, with his brilliant ability to hold that width and make sure that when Bournemouth tried to take the ball up into attacking areas, he was quite intent and quite forceful and would push up the pitch very highly behind his man. He was consistently winning the ball back, which is one of the main reasons why Bournemouth had no XG in that second half, and it was a brilliant defensive display. It really worked bringing him on. And defensively, for someone that is necessarily not really accustomed to that role at this high level, Bournemouth really struggled. I think Semenyo down his side, who was a top winger, couldn't really get much freedom, even in moments where their ball was just wafted up into the field by Bournemouth and they were trying to get a knockdown or maybe a bounce for them. He was so close to Semenyo that Semenyo could not get away. Having someone that has the physical capabilities of O'Reilly, which he's clearly developed well over the last year, and also having that pace, I think, which he definitely has. He is a very quick player and very good at holding his man and staying with him. Makes sense why he was put into that left back role in the first place, and I do think Antoine Semenyo, who's a top winger, couldn't really get the ball in much good areas because he was always on him, which I think was very important for the control that Man City wanted. Now, what I like about him is when he carries that ball upwards, when he wins it brilliantly from Semenyo or another defender, he's not necessarily like an out-and-out pace person all the time. He can also slow it down. He's got a very good tempo control, and you can tell how he has that flair that everyone always talks about. He is very good individually, and when he has that ball in his ball control is superb. I also liked as well that his passing in this game, I felt like, was quite experimental, especially when they had scored a few goals, but he was always trying to make really good attacking passes. There's a few times where he made some passes inside, which you expect because he's that tempo control like we said, but there was a few times as well when he went over the top, he went long, and I can definitely tell that he has that individual ability to control games and probably create as well, because he was doing it from left back, and this kept getting Man City through in different chances. And when he was going on the break so much, this is exactly what you want. You want someone out wider who is going to try them crosses or passes through that will get you the goals, and eventually, just as he came on, we saw that. The first goal, where he's only just joined the pitch, is a perfect example of him being that overlapping left back, him coming in late, just as Man City able to get the ball out in central areas. They're able to put the ball through brilliantly to him, and he is going to attack them areas. Man City, yet again this season, we're going to say it, have struggled with having that pace, having that athleticism, and really having that physicality. When this guy gets pushed or contacts, he's quite tall, he actually stays on his feet, I felt like, quite well, and will give it back to the players. We saw it in defensive areas, but we also saw it in this attacking area. As soon as he's in front of this player here, he takes a brilliant touch into his path forward, and that separation is already created by the amount of pace that he has. He puts the ball brilliantly into the back post, where Haaland obviously has that pace as well, but I think he's needed someone to work with him, and that's probably why Marmoush was brought in, to be honest, with the team. And he puts the ball brilliantly to the back post, where Haaland finishes it easily. This is just something that they have needed, more transitional play, but not always necessarily down to long balls. We know City are quite good at kicking the ball long with Ederson or one of the defenders. Haaland or Marmoush heads it down for the other and they go through, but in some games against good defenses, that isn't always going to work. So being able to build up like this very quickly, be able to switch the ball out to a left back overlapping and then put the ball back, is a brilliant thing, which I do think is maybe a new way you might see City move into the future. Even if it isn't O'Reilly in that left back spot, I would expect them to probably sign a left back that might do that in the future, maybe move Vardy out to a centre back role. But these overlapping deeper runs were just such a different ball game for really Bournemouth to experiment with, because they didn't play against this in the first half. Man City were very narrow, couldn't really get the ball out, and then when they did, it was slow, quite predictable. Bournemouth were able to get players around them, but they were now putting the ball deeper with their players like De Bruyne, like Gundogan, like Kovacic, and they were putting balls through straight away for O'Reilly. Even the second goal is very much the same. He's on that wing position. The ball is attempted to be inside for him as well. This is a very hard ball, to be fair, and it is cut out by Semenyo, but he's on the floor, and Nico O'Reilly is quick for that second ball. He picks the ball up brilliantly, and straight away all of the other Man City players can work off that. You see the runs being made by all the attacking lines. Marmoush makes a brilliant run deeper here away from the defender. Brilliant play by O'Reilly to pick that ball up. He can't get tackled here, and he does a nice little incisive pass into Marmoush, who ends up finishing it under Kepa. What I really liked about this is that he's so quick and making decisions in decisive areas, and I just think the ability to cover ground very quickly just helps Man City. It's kind of not really that hard to see. As soon as they make a mistake, Bournemouth, he is on there, and he was prepared for that mistake to happen and be able to put that ball through, which is just something that Man City have needed quite variety this season, which is great to see in this game by the youngster. And the crazy thing is, when you look at his stats, yet again, he's not someone that's going to have much involvement on the ball compared to a lot of other Man City players, but he is someone that can be impactful when you get him into the right areas and always be that second phase attacker. Not someone that really goes up the field straight away, but waits for the chances and that space to be there, then make them dart and runs, making Semenyo have to mark him and catch up with him defensively. And in this game, I think that was really different for Semenyo in the past. He isn't the worst at it, but I think he was very surprised by O'Reilly's pace and physicality, which really didn't help him in defensive or attacking areas. But in his 45 minutes, he ended up getting obviously 2 assists. He actually got man the match overall. He made 2 chances and only made 10 out of 14 passes, but obviously very impactful at a 0.49 expected assists. And you look at his overall involvement on the ball, passing to the final third, 2 touches into the opposition box, 2, only 30 touches with 0 out of 1 crosses and 1 out of 3 accurate long ball. But then you do see his impact in defensive areas as well, which I do want to make sure that is important. Man City were able to get their lead because of his attack and work, but defensively he was secure very much on that left side. 2 out of 2 tackles won, 2 clearances, 1 headed clearance, 1 interception, 5 defensive actions and 4 recoveries. His pace in defensive transitions and attacking transitions was key, and he also made 5 duels with winning 3 and losing 2. So he really put himself about well to announce himself on that level in front of everyone. Now there's been questions about maybe he should play in the future, and I do think this performance really shows it. But Man City and Pep Guardiola have been willing to play him in the FA Cup, so I'd be wondering if he'd be willing to play him in that Wembley game, which obviously is a big task. But I think factually Nico O'Reilly has to play more at this point. Man City in the league are fighting for top 4, but you would still expect them to probably get Champions League football, and I think O'Reilly will be a brilliant player you can really take into the future. And we know Man City like developing youngsters that really get into that team a bit later than some others, like Bob came through at 20 as well. So this could be Nico O'Reilly's time where he probably could have gone out on loan or left in the summer, and maybe he will actually find a way to get into this team. So that's very interesting. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about O'Reilly overall, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.